Let me share with you 3 of my best all-time driver videos. You know, driving doesn't have to be that complicated, especially when you get some of the secrets that I'm going to share with you here. Let's go and get started. All right, what a cool driving range, a cool course we're at here. This is Orange County National, home of America's largest driving range. This thing is pretty neat. It's over 400 yards across this with tee boxes all the way around. Really cool courses. They hold the Q School for the Corn Ferry Tour to get your PGA Tour card here this year. So really cool spot. Thought it'd be really fun to come out and shoot a video here. Well, in this one, I'm going to talk about how you can shallow out your swing so that you stop coming down steep, and how that can really help you to unlock a lot of swing speed that you have built up inside. Now, what happens a lot of times, let me go ahead and tee up one more ball here. You'll see that if you're getting a little bit steep, it's usually a right arm wanting to push that club and accelerate the club. And early in the downswing, you're going to see this club shaft is pointing well inside the golf ball. So if you look at where that's pointing, if I just kept swinging down that direction, I would slam this club into the ground 2-3 feet behind the golf ball. Obviously, that's not going to work. So when this right arm gets overactive or active in the wrong way, we're going to go over the right way here in a second. When it gets overactive in the wrong way, I have to slow down my swing, reroute this club shaft to get it kind of shallowed out. I usually stand up and flip to kind of help that action happen, and you lose a lot of swing speed. All that slowing down to reroute the club could have been acceleration if you're already in the slot, just accelerating all the way through the golf ball. That's what we're going to go over in this video. Now, one of the biggest things that I see players struggle with, and they'll ask me, Clay, you know, I get that you're supposed to be shallowing this club out. I get that the logo of your left hand is toward the sky, that I want to kind of roll this arm in, but I just can't feel anything with my left hand. I don't feel comfortable doing that. That's why in this video, we're going to focus all in on the right hand. What does the right hand do? And I found that you're probably going to have a lot more success focusing on the right hand versus the left hand. Then you can kind of blend it all in together, and it's going to feel natural here after a while. So what I mentioned there and what happens when you're coming a little bit steep is typically in the takeaway, you're going to bring the club inside, and then the right hand is going to push that club into a steeper position here. Now, it doesn't mean that you're coming over the top. You may be steep and still coming from the inside, just standing up like that. That can be happening. It doesn't mean that you have an over-the-top slice. You may have an over-the-top slice, or you may even have a hook doing this. What we're talking about here is the steepness of the shaft. That's when that club comes back a little inside, the right hand pushes the shaft steeper, and then from there we reroute. We want to reverse that. So go ahead and drop the club and just take your right hand. Now to dress, if I take it inside, my right wrist is bending back. These knuckles of my right wrist are bending back. That's called wrist extension. That's your knuckles towards your elbow. I want to feel like my right wrist is pretty flat as I'm going into the backswing. So I'm going to do a few reps feeling like it's flat, and then going ahead and making my swing. Now you can do these right from your living room. Go ahead and make a good 10 or 15 swings just focusing on that. We're going to build this in a progression, layer by layer. I don't want to go ahead and do everything all at once. We got to make a few swings to get comfortable with this. So here, I'm just going to focus in on my right wrist being flat in the first part of the backswing. I'm going to do that by turning my body and letting that move the club versus me picking it up with my hands and wrists and dragging it to the inside. So I'm going to do 10 or 15 practice swings like that, and then I'll go ahead and hit a golf ball here. There you go, another one, nice and solid. That would be down the left center of the fairway there, so good swing. So do the practice swings, then go ahead, if you're at a driving range, hit a few balls doing that. If you're at home, just do the practice swings and you'll be well on your way when you go to the driving range. Now piece number 2, let's add to that now. Go through this progression. My right wrist is flat going back, and you can kind of see that would be kind of flat, or like I was shaking someone's hand here. As I start down, here's what I want you to feel, and this is exaggerated, but this is really key to shallowing it out. I want you to feel like as your body opens, your palm is toward the sky. So that's really going to take this club from here to there in the downswing. Now that's exaggerated. That's too much. You're not going to get that shallow, and I don't want you to, but that's the feeling you're going to have as you finish the backswing and start the downswing to really get that club to move in the proper way. Now from there, I'm going to do another 10 or 15 practice swings, and that's really going to help me to come more from this way. Now the mistake that I think a lot of people assume is that if I get this club more from the inside, that means I'm going to swing way out to the right, and that's simply not the case. My hand is opening up, and then I'm going to be releasing that to square up the face. Once my palm opens, that's in a good shallow inside position, and now I'm going to release it. This is what all the great pros are doing that I see a lot of players that struggle don't do. They're taking this club from the inside and then releasing that to square it up. So my palm goes from open here to square, releasing through the target, and then coming on through. If you're looking at it from the camera angle here, my palm's going from open to going ahead and releasing to square and then coming on through. So I'm gonna do a good 10 to 15 reps of that. Let's go ahead and hit another golf ball here and notice how that club definitely shallows out in the transition. And I'm coming from the inside, but I'm not hitting a massive hook or really swinging way out to the right. I'm swinging squarely through the ball because I'm releasing that hand. Let's go ahead and try it out here. There we go, pretty solid. So the last piece of this and the final question I get here is, well, won't my club face be open if I do that? So when my palm is up, won't this face be open and out of position here? And actually, to solve that, that is true. You're gonna get a little bit of this move. Some people call it the motorcycle move, where you're twisting your wrist. That would be me turning this club this way. But that move, when I'm shallow, this is closing the face. So if I took this club and I twist it toward the camera, that's closing the face, that's opening the face. So I wanna have that palm up and my knuckles back like that. That's really the key. That's the last piece that kind of ties this in together. I'm getting the club from the inside, and then I'm getting those knuckles back to square the face up. So that looks like this. Again, all three pieces together. I'm gonna go really slow for you. Backswing, wrist is nice and flat. That's gonna get me on a great backswing position. Second piece, as I finish my backswing and start my downswing, I'm gonna feel like my palm is up toward the sky. Third piece, I'm squaring that up. So as I open my hand, my knuckles are rolling back, so it looks like this. I'm gonna go real slow and show what that would look like. That's why you see so many pros with their left wrist bowed. That's why you see so many pros with this elbow tucked in. That's why you see so many pros coming from the inside. It's that wrist move that I'm talking about there. Get those three pieces together. Again, make another 10 or 15 swings, and you're gonna really be able to feel like now from the top of the swing, you can accelerate all the way through the downswing because you don't have to reroute it. The club is already shallowed out on the angle that it needs to be on in the downswing. So let's go ahead and crank one more here. See just how far I can get this one to go. I'm really gonna accelerate through it. All right, I hit that one awesome. Great to have you here today, and in this video I'm going to talk about really the one tip, my kind of favorite drill that I do, or the favorite feeling that I have when the driver gets off track. Now let's talk about a couple things that's going to happen when you're hitting your driver well. You really want to make sure that you load up, and even if you're inflexible, I want my hips to turn. And a good way to do this is to feel like I soften up my lead heel a little bit. So as I turn back, I want my lead heel just to barely come off the ground a little bit. And for me, the number one tip that I like to feel here is to feel like someone has tied, usually on the outside of your pants, there's a belt loop or something like that. I want to feel like someone's standing about 45 degrees behind me and to the right. And they have a string that's tied to my left hip. And there's also a person that's directly behind me this way, and they have a string, this same string tied to my left hip. And in the backswing, I'm gonna feel like this person back here pulls that string and gets my hips to rotate. Now that is so important, and so many players that I see don't do enough with the hips. And what ends up happening is we do all arms. So we pick up the club with the arms in the backswing, and now there's so much effort because it's just an all arms downswing. We start to cast. A lot of times you'll find yourself kind of standing up out of your posture and throwing the club at it. A lot of that stems from the root cause is not getting the body to turn. So I want to imagine, again, this guy back here has this string tied to me, and as I go into my backswing, he's going to pull that left hip. And what I feel like as I get my left butt cheek behind the golf ball, as silly as that sounds, that's a sensation for me that feels like I'm going to be very powerful. Now, it's not going to happen, but I feel like my butt cheek here is getting behind that golf ball. And then in the downswing, this person with the string on this side is gonna yank that string back the other way. So what that does here is now that I get my cheek behind the ball, I'm really loaded up. I've softened up my lower body to allow me to be more flexible, and I feel very powerful. Now, a big key here is just because you're loaded up more doesn't mean that I have to just thrash at it and I'm gonna go out of control. I wanna load up and then be very smooth. So let me go ahead and hit a nice easy one here, or what feels like a nice smooth, easy swing. I'm gonna load up really well, and then I'm just gonna have a big turn and smooth it out there. Now that ball went a long way. I didn't feel like I swung very hard, but that ball was hit pretty well and it had a lot of ball speed on it. It didn't feel like I had to rush it. Now, if I would have picked it up with all arms, this guy hadn't pulled that string, I hadn't gotten that cheek behind the ball, now I would have had to stand up and kind of throw and lash at it. It would have felt like a lot of effort, but the swing speed wouldn't have been as high. So let's try that out again a few times. And again, in practice swings, I'm just gonna be this cheek turning behind the golf ball. Now, in the downswing, what I want to feel like again is this one is turning out of the way. So I want to feel like almost like somebody's on my back, somebody's on my left shoulder. That guy has the string back here. And as I start my downswing, I'm starting it by getting this to turn back behind my body. Now when I do that, that again helps me to not stand up. When I stand up, that's me locking my lower body and not using it to rotate. When you stand up, your knees extend. When your knees extend, you can't rotate out of the way. So try this for me. Extend your legs, lock your knees, and try to rotate your hips. You can't do it. There's no muscles there to be able to rotate the hips that can activate. Everything's already activated fully. When I straighten my knees, I can't rotate my hips. But then the opposite feeling would be that guy pulling that string to start the downswing. I keep my knees flexed, and now everything's rotating through. That's what the pro players are doing when you see them open their body, getting the body leading the way, and then the arms are gonna swing much more effortlessly. So in a nutshell, it's just that cheek behind the ball on the way back, and then I almost feel like there's a guy with a rope back here, someone on my back, or if I wanna stick with the butt cheek idea, there's almost a wall back here, and I'm gonna kinda throw my left hip, my left butt cheek into that wall, really clear that out of the way to start my downswing. And that gets everything opening up so I can really extend those arms through the ball. But I find it's the core, it's the lower body that I like to start with when things get off track. And if I can do that, I can get a whole lot of swing speed, a lot of distance, but it doesn't feel like I have to put out that much effort. Let's give it another whirl. There we go, not gonna hit much better than that. All right, so hit that one well. How do we have that effortless swing, that nice smooth rhythmic swing like we see with the top pros, Ernie Els, those guys, and still create good club head speed? That's what everybody wants to know. Do you feel like you get really tight with your hands and arms? Like when you try to swing harder, you start casting the club a little bit more, your forearms tighten up, your arms tighten up, you feel like you're just working really hard and your swing speed actually goes down. So how do we do that? That's exactly what we're gonna go over in this video. So you'll see there I swung just over 115 miles an hour, 301 yards of total distance, but it didn't look like I swung that hard at that golf ball. Well, that comes from two separate pieces. Number one, I have to get momentum from the body. The big pieces in my body create the big rotation and allow the momentum to happen so that my arms can just swing freely around that. And then piece number two, we have to learn how to transfer that energy into the hands and arms to get that whip of the club coming through contact, to get that snap of speed right at contact, where it feels very effortless, but our swing speed stays pretty high. It's exactly what I'm gonna talk about in this video. Now this is a work along video, so stand up out of your chair right now, grab a golf club, start doing these drills right now with me, and you're gonna thank yourself later because we're gonna get you more club head speed and make it smooth and effortless while we're doing that. Let's go and get started. All right, so let's jump right in. The first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna lose this club and let's work on the momentum of the body. And what I want you to do here is put your hands and arms across your shoulders, or the top of your shoulders. And we're gonna do some rotations back and through to get the body rotating and moving the way it should. One of the problems that I see when players feel like they're putting out a lot of effort but not getting much swing speed is a lot of hands and arm action, not very much body action. So they pick it up with the hands and arms, they push it through with the hands and arms, and the hands and arms are doing all the work. Your forearms are tight, but you don't have that base momentum. What I want you to feel like here, imagine your body is kind of encased in a giant wrecking ball, just a concrete ball around your body, and you're creating that momentum by letting that rotate back and rotate through. Now, as I'm doing this, to make this happen efficiently, I want to go ahead and let that left heel lift a little bit. That also helps if you're not very flexible. Letting that left heel lift up allows you to rotate those hips, get the body moving there a little bit, and you don't have to be super flexible to make this happen. So just put your arms across your shoulders. We're going to do 10 reps as I'm coming back, letting that left heel lift, making that wrecking ball momentum kind of rotate to the right, getting that good shoulder turn where I feel like now I've made at least a 90-degree shoulder turn. Now as I come on through, I'm going to let that heel drop down to start my momentum moving left, and then I'm going to turn that wrecking ball coming all the way on around, and you can see my right foot comes all the way up. So do a good 10 reps just kind of rocking back and forth in a fluid motion as that's happening. So really feel like you're loosening yourself up, getting that big shoulder turn coming back and through, and then once you're comfortable with that, let's add the swinging of the arms onto this. So the next 10 reps, go ahead and let your arms hang out to your sides. Now, instead of being parallel with the ground like this, in our golf swing, we're swinging on a plane or in our posture. So our body's tilted forward, and we're gonna let our arms kind of swing as our body rotates. So again, do the same thing there. Let that body momentum carry you to the right, and then let your arms swing back. Now you drive that left heel down, let the momentum move to the left, and you let the arms swing on through. We're gonna do 10 more reps of this. So letting those arms go back, letting those arms go through. As you do that, you can start to feel the body carrying the momentum, and the arms are just swinging kind of effortlessly as this is happening. That's a real key into creating club head speed without being jerky. Let me give you an example of this when I'm swinging a club. I'm gonna let my body, the momentum of my body, carry my arms back and through. We'll see what that looks like. So nice and smooth, and I'm letting the transition of my body kind of move my arms. This will be the opposite of that. I'm gonna do my arms putting out all the effort and the force. That's gonna look, and my body isn't gonna move, it's gonna look like this. I'm probably swinging about the same speed there, but one of them, my hands were very tight. I flipped, I felt like I was very uncontrollable on it when I did all hands and arms. The other one, I let that momentum build, I let my arms swing, and that made things a lot easier. All right, so now let's add the club with this. But before we do that, let's get used to the whipping of kind of our arms, kind of having this little whip and acceleration as we're coming through contact. So again, get the body moving, get those arms swinging. As you're coming through contact, feel like your arms kind of accelerate right through contact. So they're smooth at the top, they're whipping or accelerating through contact, and they're smooth at the finish. So again, 10 reps, really getting that speed just happening down at the golf ball, and that's where you want to have the speed in your golf swing. If I'm trying to create speed back here and hit hard from the top, I'm burning up all my swing speed as I start down. It's going to look rushed, it's going to look really jerky. So do a few of those to get that feeling, and then recreate the same thing, 10 more reps swinging the golf club. Again, imagine the wrecking ball, momentum back, momentum through, allow my arms to swing back, snap of speed at the bottom, but smooth as I'm at the top, and smooth as I'm at the finish. That's gonna look something like this. So I'm gonna do 10 reps, nice and smooth everywhere except for the bottom. Let the body carry the momentum of the club. Let those arms swing freely. So I'm gonna do 10 reps of that, then I'm ready to move on to the next piece. Okay, so now you may be asking yourself, you know, I understand I'm supposed to be smooth here at the top. I understand I'm supposed to be smooth at the finish. But man, when I hit the ball with any kind of distance, I definitely feel like I have to tighten up and start putting some force into that club. Well, here's a great trick that's gonna help you to stay soft with those arms. Now, the reason we wanna do this, again, is if I get tight with my forearms, let's imagine, you know, I'm gonna start flipping the club and casting from the top. Well, in order to do that, my forearms tighten up, my bicep and my tricep tighten up, not only with my left arm, but more importantly, my right arm starts doing that. So I go from a elbow leading the way to kind of throwing with the right arm straightens up, all these muscles get tight. A great way to get rid of that tension so that you can have some lag. If I want to have some lag, I have to have those arms soft, let this stay bent, carry that angle down, and then I can release it at the bottom when we get that snap of speed. But if I want to get rid of that tension, a great little drill to do is go ahead and get in your setup position, and then from there, kind of move your elbows in a circle. So I'm just gonna go ahead and relax my elbows, move around a little bit left and right, feel like I really take the tension out of my arms before I swing. And then from there, I want to feel like I carry that tension over as I start my downswing to get that lag. Then when we come on through, I'm opening everything up, letting the body momentum open, and releasing that lag out in front of the golf ball. If you get tight at all with your forearms, if you get tight at all with your elbows, those elbows lock up, you try to guide the swing, it's going to look like this. Big cast at the top, and then pushing everything through, very low swing speed and very high effort. So do another 10 reps, loosen up those elbows a little bit, make 10 more swings, letting the body momentum carry the way, get used to that tension-free swing. And then we're going to move it on to the last piece, which is now that we have this lag and we allow those elbows to stay soft to get that lag, now let's talk about how to release that and when to let the arms fire to get that snap of speed. All right, so let's take it to the final piece. We started from the ground up, worked on the feet, then worked on the body, worked out to the arms. Now let's go to the last missing link here, which is that club. It has got a lot of lag. Let's release that lag. And what I found is players a lot of times struggle releasing lag and understanding what they need to do to release lag, and they end up getting tight to try to control that, to try to drag that on through. What we really need to be doing is being soft with those arms and then releasing lag as hard as we can past the golf ball, which we'll go through here. Now, in order to control this club, we're going to be swinging at some pretty high club head speed here. If I don't have the proper grip, if I don't have my hands on the grip the proper way, what I'm going to end up doing is tightening up my hands to try to not lose control of this club. So what I mean by this is if I grab a tee, you can do this very easily. Again, grab anything laying around. You can even grab a pencil, a pen. And if I put the tee or the pen or whatever it is between my thumb and my index finger, just like I'm going to hand this to you, well, that's naturally going to kind of close up all the gaps in my hand. A lot of times what I'll see players doing when they're gripping the golf club is they'll be gripping it like a hammer. So where my thumb's almost wrapped around, and then the thumb kind of comes off my fingers this way. So you can see there's big gaps in my thumb and my finger. There's gaps as I'm coming through here. And what happens is as I start to swing, that club can slide around in these gaps and I can lose control of this face. A couple degrees off on the face and we're gonna have big misses right or left. So having that club being able to move around like that in your hand, gonna be really tough to control this and be able to create lag and release lag very quickly and efficiently without trying to tighten up and guide the club face. So what we're going to do here, instead of having that thumb out long like this, that looks something like that for the grip, what we're going to do is pull that thumb back to what I call a short thumb. That's going to angle your hand more on the grip, and you'll see how that kind of closes up all the pockets. So now every little gap of air, and what you'll feel like is it almost sucks the air out of your grip, is now gone. And I have that short thumb just like I was going to hand you that tee or hand you a pin between my index finger and my thumb. So when I do that now, when I look at the club, I open up my hand, you'll see how my hand is a little bit more angled like this. So it's not on there like the baseball grip. That way, it's kind of angled this way. That allows my thumb to shorten up, and now all those air pockets are closed. I do the same thing with the right hand. Instead of having the hand like this and having that thumb kind of loose off to the side, a lot of gaps where this club could move around, I'm going to shorten up that thumb, pull my hand closer to my left hand. You're going to do an interlock or an overlap, either one is fine, or even if you do a baseball grip, it's fine. We just have to take out all the air from there, and now you can see how every little pocket of air in here is going to be sealed up. When that happens, now if I relax my hands and you tried to pull this out of my hand, it would have a tough time coming out of there. I have so much surface area of my hands on this club, it's creating a lot of surface tension, and you can't really grab that out of my hand very easily. So what that allows me to do, you say, okay, Clay, we've been talking about this grip for a while now. What does that allow me to do with lag and release and an effortless swing? Well, when I can stay really nice and loose and relaxed with my hands and still have control of this golf club, now I can let my wrists be soft. So you'll see here as I'm kind of letting this club swing back and through, my wrists are very soft, but I could swing very hard while I'm doing that and still feel like I'm gaining control or have control of this club. So feel like you tighten up those air pockets by pulling that thumb back short, and then from there, now you can remain soft and loose with the wrist. So when we make that downswing, when we talk about those elbows and the wrist being soft and we create this big angle, now I can release that and my wrists are fluid enough to release to what we call the straight line release point. So once I get all that lag, I'm just thinking about opening up my body, carrying that momentum, everything's going to that straight line release. I'm swinging through and letting the contact of the ball happen. That only happens if my wrists are nice and loose and pliable. If I feel like I have to control this club with my grip, I get tight with my hands, I'm automatically going to cast from the top. My right arm's going to straighten out and I'm going to flip and really have a bad impact position. So let's put all those pieces together now. We've gone through these reps, you're starting to feel good with it. Try to stay loose, try to stay relaxed, and feel like the momentum of the body carries the swing of the swing speed, but my hands and arms allow that club to snap through impact and toward my straight line release. Let's go ahead and hit one more here. Get that effortless swing, see if we can get another 300-yard drive. There we go, right down the left center. Definitely did well there. I definitely felt like my wrist could go ahead, let him go to the release point in front, and my swing speed just happened without me trying to kill it. So my club head speed actually went up a little bit on that one, 117 after doing those drills, got the momentum going. And my total distance carried at 300, rolled out to 307. So definitely happy with that. You guys are gonna be happy with it too once you practice these drills. Now the next thing I want you to do is to work on what we call a straight line release. Now one of the things that we mentioned there is how we get this angle of lag, and the worst thing we can do is hold on to that. I gotta get that releasing out in front. I talked about how to get those wrists loosened up so I could be able to do that. I'm gonna play a preview from one of my best straight line release videos. That's how you get everything releasing through the golf ball. The golf ball just gets in the way, contact happens, and you're gonna feel very fluid and effortless through contact. No longer like you're hitting at the golf ball, it's more like you're swinging the club and the golf ball is just getting in the way. I'm gonna play a preview from one of our best straight line release videos. Just go ahead and click the card that pops up on your screen or the link down below in the description. You'll get instant access. You'll start releasing in front. You pair that up with the drills we worked on today, that's an awesome 1-2 punch. Is gonna help you to have a really smooth and powerful golf swing. A common misconception I see is that we wanna create lag and we just wanna hold that lag all the way on through contact and get as much lag as we can coming through contact, and that's simply not true. In the release section, we're going to talk about how to turn that lag into energy, how to turn that into speed so that you can hit it very far and do it, like we mentioned, without hardly any effort at all. And as we're coming through contact, we're going to fully release this angle as we're about 45 past contact. So if I draw, a 45-degree angle, I should be looking at both arms, nice and straight, the club splitting those arms, so that by releasing the club, by getting this angle to release as we're coming through contact, that's what's going to create the speed. Our hands are moving a very short distance, our club is moving a very long distance through contact, and it creates that whip-like effect.
Very different swings, hitting the exact same position. So first let's take a look at Dustin Johnson, releasing the club 45 past. And the reason we're going to see such different swings producing similar positions is that this is the real physics of how this has to happen. Here we're looking at Sergio Garcia. Again, we're going to see tons